I was questioning what I was seeing with the digital work being on display in the gallery, and I had a discussion with Marius about co-curating this, and I wanted to see what the result would be. The exhibition has got two sides to do with digital creativity plus the handcrafted analog. It still to me seems for most of this work that a person's hand is still creating it as if it's like a tool.
You know, there's such a wide theme that can include, you know, digital art and of course, you know, analog art.
If you want to talk about sort of real life and dream worlds, I suppose the real life is the actual drawing where you're on the spot, you know. And the dream world part of it, as I suppose, is when you go home and scan them into the computer and then start imagining ways that you can sort of overlay, and there are lots of textures and so on that I brought into them.
And I think it's also important between the two galleries, the digital gallery and the analog gallery, that there is a contrast, and that's a nice contrast between the white and the beautiful colourful displays that Peter used for the analog art. Digital art is going through a pioneering era. Thousands of students from young to old and the incredible talent. I was blown away at the talent and the variety of work. Heads and figures, abstract and architecture. Doing the curation with Simon was a very gratifying experience, because to see the range of art against the wall, how it flows. I remember Marie Brenner saying to me, it's just like choreographed dancing. And I thought what she said really, it was very important to help me through the process. I know a few artists, we go to the same digital art school, but it was also phenomenal to see people coming from different parts of London and their different approaches and techniques, and it's like a whole new world opened to me.
So usually what happens when I do digital artworks is I take a very simple shape, and then the only decision is which filter and effect to put the image through, and then see the result. That's when I put the title. So I never consciously decide, today I want to create a digital flower. I don't work like that. I just take shapes, play around, a bit like a child playing in a sandpit or something.
What is interesting about the variety of art we received is the different mediums in itself. We have digital photography, for example, Rahul bringing in world painting, and then also Eski with pure digital photography. We also have Ian Long, which is experimental, a little bit like a photo negative that's been reversed. John Farrago, who also used not only photography but pencil drawing and painting inside this image, so it very much becomes a mixed media process. Lucy Reeves made digital drawings set into glass. It's a beautiful end product that you get. This Caroline Julia Moore, she tutors in digital art. And then we also have Bernie Tuff that creates and designs elements for digital artists.
But for 5,000 pounds, I'll hang on your wall, and I'll shout and scream and make you cry. So come on, I've waited so long. Come on, I've waited so long. Come on, I've waited so long. Oh, look, there's a millionaire standing there looking at me. My, he's got a big hat on. But just look at the size of his money. So come on, I've been waiting so long. Come on, I've been waiting so long. Come on, I've been waiting so long. Hanging on this wall. Now that somebody has bought me, I am so very happy. I can come down from this wall and get outside of the sky.
No, I don't actually see myself as an artist. It's I make bags, and now I've started making things that I like hanging on my wall. I'm always surprised when somebody else wants it, actually.
Come on, I've been waiting so long, hanging on, hanging on, hanging on this.
But it's something you can do nice editions of, and I like the medium. It's very therapeutic, and you just carve away off the lino and cut out the bits you want.
And also I like it when the colours become not quite totally unreal, but a little bit more intense, just like if it is in a dream, and then it reminds me of fairy stories and all this sort of slightly hyper viewpoints.
When you have drawings of people, they're very often still, the kind of pre-Raphaelite, long hair, quite soft. And so I wanted this to be very much a 20th century or 21st century man with, kind of short-cut hair and the kind of current sensibilities. At the time, I was often doing things where I was finding photos or images on the internet and then doing a drawing of them, and I think there's that sort of sense that when you do a drawing, it's a completely different way of responding to something than if you just do a quick photo. So this was actually a picture, I think, of somebody who was a boxer and had just come out of a boxing match.
But we're still digesting what the themes, what ideas are coming out of this a very contrasting display of two areas of work.
And I gravitated towards animals and sort of large animals, I guess, because I feel quite strongly about the fact that a lot of these animals are on the brink of extinction, and I wanted to just engage with them, I suppose, on an artistic level. If you remember Guy the gorilla from the London Zoo, who was a very famous, very well-loved character there, well, that's him, but the stuffed version, which exists in the Natural History Museum, in a sort of glass. It's like a Francis Bacon sort of scenario where he's in a glass box, like one of those screaming popes, that Francis Bacon used to do.
I've got two very close Ukrainian friends who are sisters, and I noticed that a lot of people were wearing Ukrainian flag badges, so made these little necklaces with the colours of the Ukrainian flag.
Is The Shootist by Maria Fernanda Latif, which is not only a garment that could be worn, but it also has creative suggestions of bullet holes.
The Shootist piece is very powerful because it's making a statement about modern life, but all her pieces are powerful and they're wearable, but you are wearing a work of art on your body, and it's a privilege to wear something like that. So she is a craftswoman, and she is an artist, and she has a huge imagination, and her work is very, very precious.
I'm going to start the piece with just a heraldic sound.
I think it's the tree of life on an island coming out of a sea of despair.
Vivian has made a real art out of how she uses everyday plastic bags.
It's so vibrant and it's going to be around forever, so if we don't use it properly, cautiously, then the world's just going to be dumped with plastic, buried in plastic.
So again, it's all about connections, people you care about, and picking up the scraps that have been abandoned and doing what you can with them.
I walk to work. I walk to work every day through this churchyard. I work a couple of times a week at the hospital over there. So it became something that I passed through, but then when my mother died, it took on an even deeper significance to me. And I started to really explore more about the history of the churchyard, but also that I knew that I wanted the project to be visual as well as textural. I met up with Charlotte and we started to collaborate together on this book and also on the exhibition.
We felt that the image and the text had equal weight in the book, in the sense that Louise wrote her poetry from one perspective inspired by the churchyard, and I produced my drawings from another perspective.
King's Cross was the NHS thank you sculpture. I think it was quite important because it was made in the first lockdown. But I'm very proud. I think that NHS, the thank you sculpture, was very good. We have two practices, but Dolly Ollie's probably more Ollie. And then with my practice, I usually get Ollie he's like my technician. I'm not good at making stuff, but I'm good with ideas. In King's Cross, that's a very big gentrification. But as soon as you walk out one entrance, it's completely different. It's a new world. And I think those worlds just need a different way of gelling.
So it's constantly wanting to surprise people by what they're looking at and reading, thinking we're not going to give you something literal, we're going to give you something slant.
Yeah.
There's two poems, two excerpts from two poems. A cross charged with power. Overhead, the wires sing a sequence. Wait. Study the sequence of shadows. Wait. Study the sequence of stones.
And often I don't always want to know its origin. There's just something about a particular view that I'm drawn to. But in the case of the cross, it was clear to me that was the image. It was very definite that those two elements, the cross on the ground and that modern electrified cross at the railway, seems such a beautiful arrangement.
So this poem is about the past, but it's also about Mary Shelley, it's also about my mother, it's also about Mary Wollstonecraft. So they're all together in the same place at the same time. The path ends here as the house begins undug or has fallen into a few white stones.
So this is very indicative of our process, that Louise was responding to that drawing and then took it in her own particular way. And what appealed to me about that drawing is that it's slightly overlooked, yet it's sort of quite significant as well, this road going absolutely nowhere. And to me, with a lot of my work, it's very much about that incidental and about that avoiding the focal points that everybody looks at.
So my idea was, got these two amazing towers, and then Peter mentioned that they might be coming down. So one of my ideas was
to use one of my paintings and cover some of the towers like in an abstract, colourful painting, and like to bring people together, so they were like places to dream, and they hold so much history. So for people that have been in King's Cross for generations and generations, and the NHS and the Victorian times, and it's linked to the workhouses and Napoleon and the seamen, I just thought it would be a very interesting project. But one of the towers, I believe, isn't safe, so it's going to come down. The other tower, I'm not sure, I'm still waiting to get back, but I think it's probably too late.
So if you can think of digital artwork, it's a form of collage work. We don't have the textures and the sort of, the touching element of it. So it's quite important for us to create textures.
It's very sustainable because I'm using essentially junk. I myself am a collage, I'm a work of art. I'm going to show you my back. It's about color.
So with these, it's more relaxed. It's me enjoying the drawing and the process of the drawing, getting lost in organic textures. They're kind of like drawn collages, really.
To me, digital art seems much colder, but you're talking to a person, me, I've been doing art with my hands for a long, long, long time, and that feels good to me. I don't think it would feel good to me to do it on the computer. Maybe I would make something amazing, but I'm not interested in trying.
I believe there are also artists who it's more fluid and flowing for them to use technology.
These are all in some way related to landscape, and so it's really connected with the world that we're in. And after that, the manipulation is my judgment, a sort of visual judgment, which is based on a kind of visual language, where when I decide this is it, this is the final image.
I studied digital photography. I ran my photo studio for a few years, but I felt restricted. I wanted to create worlds and images. I sort of combine animals with technical or mechanical bits to create my steampunk images, and using the famous Photoshop. I took a photograph of a knight's armor, and it's a shoulder of a knight, and that became the body. Each segment of the tail, which was added separately with all these little screws and gears to make up the final image. It's more than 100 layers. Yes. I did some digital drawing on that as well. So this is sort of one aspect of digital art, and then you get people that just does absolutely phenomenal artworks from scratch, painting straight onto their digital canvas.
When you go onto the internet where people share these pictures of themselves, you've got that resource there, then you use it and you put it back onto the internet, and so it's almost a circle that's complete.
Where will we be in 10, 20 years' time?
Something big is going to happen and all the lights are going to go out, and I mean that quite literally. At that point, the people who know what to do with their hands, the people who understand the old ways, those are the people who are going to survive. Those are the people who are going to teach other people how to do it.
And then sort of like all the ornaments that are hanging off the tree, I've kind of found them on charity shops and thrift markets. Like I've got a little keyring of a sewing kit to repair the world. There's a little man there with his medical box, and he's like a eco-warrior. Dinosaurs are there because they once roamed the planet, The planet isn't going to demise, it's just going to be the humans on it.
I love this bath, which is from another exhibition. It's been out here, and I've been wanting to turn it into sculpture, and the whole idea of real life and dream worlds I wanted to incorporate into this. On the surface, a sheet of perspex. Beneath it will be a fantasy world of the sun, the sky, the clouds, daylight, birds, boat, sailboat. They're all going to be on the surface of the perspex but pointing downwards. That is this suggestion of life these days, plastic, the way we've changed things, how we can bring in colour. So it becomes a fantasy world. The key element is that it's surrounded by real soil, real stones and real shells.
So I'm going to be playing whale noises.